This is a summary of Andrew Huberman's Huberman Lab podcast episode titled Use Sleep to Enhance Learning, Memory, and Emotional State, featuring Dr. Gina Poe. And to get straight into the summary, before I tell you the main key takeaway from this podcast episode, I first have to explain to you really quickly how the stages of sleep work. So, when we sleep, we go through four phases of sleep. Phase one is where you start falling asleep. Phase two is basically just a transient phase that transitions your brain from phase one to phase three. And then phase three is deep slow wave sleep, where these slow waves clean out our brains. And phase four is what is known as REM sleep, or rapid eye movement sleep. And each one of these sleep cycles is around 90 minutes. With that being said, they mention how a perfect night's sleep should be at least 7 to 8 hours. And Dr. Junipo also says that people who sleep for 4 to 5 hours for multiple nights may experience cognitive deficits. They also touch upon the fact that oversleeping in general isn't really a thing. However, if you consistently need more than 9 hours of sleep, then you may have some issues such as sleep apnea or some other sort of illness, with the only exception being adolescence and a developing brain in infants and children, as they need a lot of sleep during these ages. And so, with that explanation out of the way, the main key takeaway that I find to be the most relevant and actionable for everyone is that the most important thing you can do to reap the benefits of sleep is to have a consistent sleep schedule. This is so important in human health because sleep is essential for restoring the brain, and the effects of sleep cannot be replicated by any state of wakefulness. And the reason why having a consistent sleep schedule is so crucial is that it has to do with how our body reacts in accordance with our circadian rhythm. This is because when we go to bed at a consistent time, our body knows exactly when to do certain things like release a certain hormone. This means that, for example, if I were to consistently go to bed at 10 p.m., then my body will know exactly when to start producing things like growth hormone around 11:30, because this would be around my first phase of sleep, during that phase 1 of sleep. However, if I were to suddenly miss my sleep schedule and I end up going to bed at 11:30, then I would actually miss that first phase of sleep, thus resulting in me missing out on the release of growth hormone, which is a hormone that is important for protein synthesis and memory building in the brain. All right, so now that I covered what I think the main key takeaway from this podcast episode is, I'm just going to rapid fire some notes that I found to be important for improving everyday life. Sleep is important for growth and development, especially in adolescence and early brain development. Alcohol and caffeine can inhibit the effectiveness of the first stage of sleep, which is a crucial stage of sleep that is responsible for memory consolidation and schema changing. It might also be important to know that alcohol should be avoided and caffeine should only be consumed early in the day. Then, with the second and third stages of sleep being crucial for creativity and building schemas. And the best way to explain what a schema is this example that they used with desktop folders and Christmas. So, you want to think of a desktop with a bunch of different folders, and in each folder is a collection of different things that all relate to each other. For example, when we think of the word Christmas, we immediately think of things like Santa, presents, and snow, because that is the schema or category of a collection of different things that we developed over time. During these second and third stages of sleep, our dreams actually sew these old and new informations together into a new way, resulting in our brain building a new schema, which basically just means that we built a better understanding of the things that we learned throughout the day. You also want to try to avoid using an alarm clock if possible, as it can wake you up in the middle of a sleep cycle, which can disrupt your body's recovery and repairing process. And this could also just cause you to wake up more groggy and more tired. During the first part of the night's sleep, so presumably the first 20 minutes, the brain undergoes a process of rebuilding ATP and cleaning out misfolded protein and other debris through sleep. And a pretty useful analogy that Dr. Gina Poe uses to explain this process is that during the day, you have all of these partygoers that consist of different types of proteins. Then at night, you want all those unnecessary partygoers to leave. So, this cleanup process that happens at this time of sleep is your brain just cleaning up all the unnecessary protein and building ATP. And ATP is basically just energy for the brain. This is also the reason why so-called power naps are referred to as power naps, because they are cleaning up the brain and building new ATP. And this process of cleaning out our brain is essential for maintaining brain health and function. The next section of this video will be about the locus coeruleus, which is a structure in the brain that helps us respond to our environment. And during REM sleep, the locus coeruleus shuts off completely, allowing for the removal of synapses that are no longer being used or that are no longer useful to us. So for people that suffer from PTSD has been shown to affect norepinephrine levels during REM sleep, and this prevents the locus coeruleus from shutting down and leading to the inability to erase traumatic memories from the brain and hindering the ability to learn new things. This also goes into the topic of trauma and how hyperactivity in the locus coeruleus can prevent resolution of emotions. And then some tools to enhance and improve sleep and locus coeruleus function is to avoid novelty and excitement late at night, avoid stress-inducing games at night, try breathing exercises before sleep, and try not to sleep when anxious or hyped up. And things like yoga nidra, non-sleep deep rest, or prayer can all calm the body and relax muscles. And this can be beneficial because although we don't really know the full extent, our brain actually mimics some functions of REM sleep during meditation. And that is it for this summary. I hope you found some value in it, and I hope I saved you some time. If you have suggestions for the next summary, just leave it in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.